Good day, Olivarians! Let's have some recap about our previous lesson, intersubjectivity. And now, let's proceed to our new lesson. This is Miss Cana Rosaralia, your topic instructor for human person in the society. This lesson aims the following. First, compare the different forms of societies and individualities. Second, differentiate the two types of social relations and their characteristics. Third, describe the relationship between an individual and harmonious society using a social contract. Fourth, explain how human relations are transformed by societies. And lastly, recognize how individuals form societies and how individuals are being transformed by societies. Don't forget to take down notes, your questions, and clarifications so that after this discussion, you can ask and consult your philosophy teacher. So, let's begin. Human person in society is our topic 7 or the second to the last topic of Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person or Philo 001. Before we start our discussion today, I have one question for you to think and answer. Here's my question. Based on your perspective, what is the relationship between a human person and the society? Yes, you're right. In this topic, we will talk about things you need to know about the relationship between the human person and the society. First, we will define society based on different aspects and perspectives of philosophers. According to Merriam-Webster, society is a noun wherein people in general thought of as living together in organized communities with shared laws, traditions, and values. Another definition given, society is the people of a particular country, area, time, etc., thought of specially as an organized community. In short, the concept is about people plus location plus common traits, values, etc. is equals to the idea of society. When we talk about society, we are talking about one discipline called sociology, the study of society. Let's break it into little pieces for you to understand it well. In sociology, society is a group of people with common norms, values, and aspirations. There is no society without people in it. People inside it should have a commonality not on physical features but on traits, characteristics, and way of living they have. I have one question. What country is this? Yes, you're right. This is our country, the Philippines, and we are called Filipinos. We are known for being hospitable and practicing the concept of bayanihan, which make us stand out as a nation. When there is commonality among people, unity is seen and evident. Going back to this slide, society is a group of people that interact with one another. Just like what I said previously, a society without people are nothing. But always remember that people inside it should have interaction and relation with each other. Later in our discussion, you will know the types of interactions people like us. And the last one, to attain their own goals for self-survival. People inside the society are dependent on one another, which leads them to achieve their aims in life for self-survival. Now, let's see how great philosophers view the relationship of the human person and society. According to Plato and Aristotle, man is a social and political being. It is seen in how people communicate and engage with other people in a society. For us to be able to understand an individual, we should know the society where he or she belongs to. One example of us being a political being is when we cast our votes during an election and participate in the programs conducted by the government. Do you know who is he? Yes, you're right. He is Bamboo, a singer. Our society is divided into different classes. Imagine the song of Bamboo. tatsulok, these contain lyrics like, habang may tatsulok at sila ang nasa tuktok, di matatapos itong gulo. It may be ideal to think that people from the higher class get very well along with the people in the middle and lower class. But for Plato, people, regardless of their class, should live in harmony with the rest of others in the society. This principle for him is called social justice. The society provides the essential needs of people, while for Aristotle, the two main reasons for people to gather and form groups are reproduction and self-preservation. The first one is for the sexual needs of men and women, and the second one is for the benefit of what they get for each other. Before we proceed, I have another question for you to think and answer. What is the difference between how you treat and communicate with a friend to a stranger? Yes, your answer is right. There is a big and significant difference based on whom you are talking or communicating. We will talk about and emphasize the types of social relations by Jürgen Habermas. To give you a brief profile of Jürgen Habermas, he is a German philosopher and sociologist that focuses on public sphere and reason. For Habermas, there are two types of social relations in our society. The first one is personal and then transactional. First type of social relation is personal. With this one, there is what we call the communicative action. Why? Because people have a shared interest and respect for one another. And one of its evident characteristics is cooperation rather than competition. Intersubjectivity is also seen in this type of social relation wherein people treat each other as a subject than an object, or in short, treating each other as a fellow human being. The next one is transactional. Unlike for the first one, having a communicative action, the transactional social relation has an instrumental or strategic action because people still have a regard for each other but mainly to accomplish one's goals and objectives. Competition is the evident atmosphere in this relation. People treat the other as an object because their focus is to attain the goals to succeed. Going back to my question earlier, what is the difference between how you treat and communicate with a friend to a stranger? These two do not have the same type of social relation. When you're talking to a stranger, there is a big chance that the social relations would be transactional than personal. While with your friends, the type of social relation is more personal than transactional. But always remember that the social relation can be interchangeable depending on situation presented. When you're talking to a friend or a stranger, the social relation can be personal or transactional, which depends on how we treat the other in the social relation. These two types of social relationships are needed in our lives for us to fulfill our individual needs. Also, remember that even if there is a relationship that treats the other as a thing or object, it is not inherently harmful. Let's dig in more on society by learning the three main spheres of society. According to Habermas, there are three main spheres of our society. First is the market, which is the economic system, and its language is money. Next is the state, which is the political system, and its language is power. And lastly, the life world. It is the everyday world of communicative relations, and its language is our family, school, etc., or in short, our society. These three are connected with each other. In the first two, market and state, the social interaction between the two social structures is more transactional, where people see each other as a way to accomplish a certain goal. For example, if we are on the market, we pay the seller of the goods so that we can buy and own the goods. In the case of the political system, some people who monitor and regulate the actions of others to maintain the order of society. Those two are based on the logic of having and not having, which is economic and under the sphere of market, or the logic of the command and obedience, which is politics, which is under the sphere of state. In the case of the life world, there should be no exploitation of others because it will be a violation of human rights. Persons in the life world ought to view and treat each other as subjects rather than objects, and the concept of intersubjectivity is seen. The social relations is more personal than transactional. I have another question for you to think about and answer. Why it is important to first have an individual identity and followed by a collective identity? Yes, that's right. To clearly understand the question I gave earlier, we need to know the different forms of societies. The first form of society is tribal and feudal society. In tribal and feudal society, tribal leaders, monarchs, and feudal lords are considered to be divine, which gives them power over the reproduction and distribution of material resources in the society. They are in control of the economic and political system. Their word is law. Basically means that the norms are decided by the leaders without getting the approval of their people. People in this form of society are less knowledgeable about their rights because their identity is inclined with how they follow their leader. There is also likeness and sameness of people because there is unity and no disapproval between each other. According to Emil Durkheim, there are different types of solidarity, which depend on what form of societies are being presented. Emil Durkheim is a French sociologist that Habermas draws heavily for his social philosophy. The tribal and feudal society can be described by this equation. Individual consciousness plus collective consciousness is equal to mechanical solidarity. This tells us that individual thinking is always related to the will and consciousness of their leader. Just like what I've said, people in this kind of society have the same values, consciousness, and spirit that is seen to have a no clear sense of individuality among members of society. There are more crimes related to violations to the collective rather than the violations against the rights of an individual. This kind of solidarity does not develop the critical thinking of an individual. Those who criticize their group will be given sanctions because from them it means that you detach yourself to the group you belong in, which can be a threat to the integrity of the group. This kind of group gives their opinion on certain topics or issues as a single view. Next is the modern industrialized society, wherein the development of trade and capitalism are seen the most. With this, tribal, monarch, and feudal lords are no longer in control of resources unlike from the first form of society we have discussed. The political system focuses only on the protection of individual rights and taxation. The power of authorities is no longer absolute. The norms, cultures, values, etc. are no longer dictated or imposed on individuals by the authority. There is an awareness of individuality and autonomy of the person, unlike for the first one. Critical thinking is seen among individuals because they can now criticize, re-examine, and recreate the aspects of the society they belong in. People have a good relationship with each other. The equation for this form of society is individual identity is equal to collective identity, or what Durkheim calls organic solidarity. This kind of solidarity focuses more on the recognition of the differences among individuals with an awareness of their codependence. This results in harmony between people in society without sacrificing their identity. For additional information, there is another kind of solidarity, contractual solidarity, wherein there is an implicit contract between individuals about their certain roles needed to fulfill. Next question. As a human, how society influences your personal identity? Yes, society has a great influence on our identity. Let's find out why on the next part of our topic. Social as a generator of identity. This part of our discussion is needed for you to understand why the society we belong in tells much more about who we are. Analyze this picture of two persons conducting an interview. Imagine yourself as the interviewee and me as your interviewer. I will ask you to tell me something about yourself. Now, answer me. You will notice that you are more likely to explain and introduce based on your socials, aside from the basic information like name, age, etc. You will tend to answer about your family background, educational attainment, experiences, and things that involve the society you belong in. These descriptions of yourself came from various associations and interactions with social institutions. Who you are today is an effect of what and who surrounds you. We learn from the process of socialization and enculturation with other people like in our school and family. We do not have a chance to change or choose the society that we are going to grow up and be developed. But as we get older, we have a chance to ask questions and reflect critically on the society we are in. We also form our social group, and in a way, our social group affects us in particular with our viewpoints and personalities. The task of the individual is to establish a society where society acts as a source of human power. Think of your circle of friends and analyze if it resembles your identity as a person. For my last question, why there is a need to have a harmonious society? It may seem ideal to begin with, but why not we aim to achieve harmony in our society? The development of the human person and harmonious society. Eric Fromm was an American social psychologist, psychoanalyst, sociologist, humanistic philosopher, and democratic socialist. According to him, individuals construct a society, and society shapes the identity of the individual by assimilation and socialization with others. He believes that society's norms and values are important in the development of an individual. Two important concepts are needed to be emphasized here: assimilation and socialization. In assimilation, it happens when we acquire and assimilate new things. For example, when a Filipino goes to other countries like Japan, we learn the culture of them doing a bow as a respect to other people, especially for the elderly. In the socialization, we people interact and react to other people. Because of the relation between individuals and society, there should be a harmonious relationship between the two. In Confucianism, it focuses on the harmonious development of the individual and the society. In the Great Learning, a Chinese classic, there are 8 successive steps to achieve harmony between the two. First, the investigation of things, the extension of knowledge, the sincerity of the will, the ratification of the mind, the cultivation of the personal life, the regulation of the family, national order, and then world peace. Confucius believed that society should be led by a man of virtue that focus more on people's welfare and social order, and it will result in a human government and a well-ordered society. After the learnings you have gained throughout our discussion, I prepared an activity for you to do. Do you know what this logo is? Yes, you're right. This logo is the logo of TikTok. This activity is entitled When Society Hits You. For the directions, make a short creative TikTok video about yourself and how society shaped your identity. Make sure that you include your name and you are seen on the said video. Use the song I Am Just a Kid in TikTok and see sample videos under it for your reference. Pass the copy of your video to your subject teacher for compilation. This activity will be graded using an analytic rubric. Ideas and content would be 40%, style and mechanics 30%, clarity and quality 20%, and overall presentation 10%. Thank you for listening. I hope you have learned from this discussion. Please send your clarifications and questions to your respective subject teachers. Again, thank you and keep safe.